episode 323 of the TV Dudes, recorded March 10th, 2021. Growing Pains. This week is all about growing pains, and not the kind that Alan Thicke had to deal with. We're talking about the difficulties of moving back to a small town and discovering you got superpowers in Superman and Lois on the CW. We're talking about the trials and tribulations of 2032 presidential candidate Dwayne Johnson in Young Rock over on Hulu. We're talking about all the growth that took place on WandaVision on Disney Plus as we talk about the back half of the season and that final episode. We're talking about growing up in the kaiju-infested apocalyptic Australia that is Pacific Rim the Black on Netflix. And we're talking about the weird changes that occur in your body as you go through adolescence. I'm sorry, that should read Mutation by Alien Artifacts over on Debris on Hulu. And because Kyle is still dealing with the fallout of Austin's icepocalypse, we're talking about all that stuff with one of our regular guest hosts, Nick Tice. But before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Les.
I'm Nick. Replacement Kyle.
And we are the TV Dudes. Yeah, welcome aboard, Nick. It's good to have you here.
Oh, yeah. Well, as you know, us Wisconsinites are basically the same, you know.
An interchangeable Wisconsinite seat.
Yeah, we all like British TV shows and Top Gear.
And ride cheese with us. No, that sounds terrible. Don't use that.
And statistically ranking our favorite TV shows for seemingly no reason.
Not no reason.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. It's no reason. There's no reason for that.
Yeah, I was thinking without Kyle here, we won't have power rankings, but I guess the power rankings are pretty simple this week. ICE is the worst. Well, Texas government, ICE, insurance companies, and so forth, I think is probably Kyle's power rankings for the week.
Yeah, we've been out no power rankings for a few weeks here. It will come roaring back along with Kyle. So instead, we're going to jump over to our other regular feature, which is the TV Diaries. And it's funny, we were talking before the show, and Nick was noting that since I became sort of lead TV dude, with Grant moving on to MCU Pod and other stuff, that there's been a lot more list activity on the podcast, as I am known for liking to make lists, and it's true.
More list, less Lindelof. Is that the change?
That's right. Less Lindelof. I love making a list. The TV Diary really is me. It's like a little dopamine hit for me when I get to make a list of the stuff I watch. It's like I'm accomplishing something by watching television. My list this week is mostly the homework. There's a lot of it. I watched Superman and Lois, Debris, Pacific Rim the Black, Young Rock, WandaVision. But I also did watch the episodes 3 and 4 of Marvel Legends to get ready for Falcon and Winter Soldier. I watched a couple more episodes of The Chase, which I'm still really digging. I watched an episode of West Wing Season 5, which I'm watching for the first time ever. Watched about 8 episodes of Avatar: Last Airbender Season 1, which is always fun to go back to. And then I watched Clarice Season 1, Episodes 1 through 3, which we'll talk about next week. And then I watched 2 movies. I watched Coming to America, which is Coming to, that's with the 2. And I actually really liked that. I know there's been some people saying it's uneven. People didn't like it. I really liked it. I enjoyed it.
My brain wants Clarice to be a 90s Nickelodeon show. Like, it just fills in Clarissa Explains It All. And like the way that CW updated Nancy Drew to be like super dark. That this is just like Clarissa solves murders.
Clarice summarizes everything.
Yes.
Clarice explains
Quid pro quo.
In horrifying detail in a very cute accent.
Right.
And then the other movie I watched, which is going to inspire our Patreon discussion a little bit, is Boss Level over on Hulu, starring Frank Grillo and a surprise guest villain, which made me really unhappy.
It was pretty funny. I watched it as well. Also, Frank Grillo is like the guy that was like, damn it, 10 years earlier and I would have been Punisher.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? Frank Grillo as Fred Ward in
I missed it by that much.
How is there? If they're going to remake a Remo Williams movie, and they probably
Yeah.
shouldn't, Frank Grillo is the man.
But if they were to do Remo Williams, The Adventure Continues now, like 30 years after, I'd have so much respect.
I would love the fuck out of it. Honestly, I think Joe Carnahan would even be the director for it. We'll get into all of this in the Patreon.
Yes. As a kid, I was always I didn't understand why Remo Williams is called The Adventure Begins. I was like, well, where's the rest of it?
Yeah, I didn't realize that there were like a ton of pulp novels. I need to go actually find
Right.
those.
Right.
Yeah, my dad took me to see that movie, and it has an absolutely outsized place in my heart.
So what's on your list for this week?
So this week was mostly the homework. I kept trying to sit down and watch a movie. I had torn through a bunch of movies a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed the difference in binging TV and movies just recently on the Patreon. And this is a prime example of it. I just couldn't get into any movies, really. So I ended up watching an absolutely astonishing amount of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Nice.
Prepping for the end. Then the homework. Debris, Soups and Lois, Young Rock. Lisa and I ended up watching all of the remaining Mr. Mayers.
Yeah?
It finds it. I don't know. I feel
The one with
so.
Ted
You
Danson?
watched the first 5, and I was telling Lisa, like, oh man, I think if Randy watched them have to take the HR sexual harassment seminar with Natalie Morales leading it, he'd probably be sold. But I'm also not going to try to pitch anybody that they need to watch through episode 6 of a series to catch, to find its footing. But I also tried to go back and watch. Fanny and I love to watch Parks and Rec as just a go-to safe, wonderful, warm hug of a sitcom. Season 1 is fucking awful. Like, I know I've said that before, but I soften up on it of like, you know what? I bet now that I know all the in-jokes, it's probably not that bad. It's not even like the same characters. Like, Ron's just kind of it's just bad. So, so I do feel okay saying that, like, maybe people ought to check back in on like the last couple of episodes of Mr. Mayor and see if it found its footing for you.
Oh, nice.
I watched WandaVision, which we'll discuss in a bit. Boss Level as well. It's about the only movie that I really checked out. I watched that third 7-Minute Legends thing, which really shouldn't call an episode of anything, but it was cool. Future Man. I've rewatched the first season of Future Man. Nick and I were talking about it the other day, and it just made me think about time travel shit. The Flash has just come back, so I've watched the 2 of those. Watched the recent John Oliver's. We've also, Fanny and I've started watching The Office because neither of us ever really tore through it. I'm still, it's hard for me to binge watch The Office. They ride a fine line between funny and sad. And then Parks and Rec, like I said, and then 30 Rock, which I still love.
Yeah, you're watching all like the must see NBC TV for
Absolutely.
me. Like, I remember the Parks and Rec, Office, 30 Rock was like so solid.
Yeah, I think you sold me on the like, I want some comfort sitcoms right now.
Yeah, I get that.
I've been veering between Peacock and Hulu though, picking my battle on. So The Office and Parks and Rec are only on Peacock right now, but 30 Rock and Brooklyn Nine-Nine are also on Hulu. I have Hulu ad free. I pay $5 for the privilege of seeing ads on Peacock. So.
I had the first 4 seasons of The Office on DVD and the first couple seasons of 30 Rock. Right about the time that I kind of stopped buying DVDs and Blu-rays was when all that stuff. So I don't have any Parks and Rec though, but I did finally break down and bought Good Place on Blu-ray to get the complete set because I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to mess around with discs and stuff, but I also don't want to pay Peacock for commercials.
It's, man, if I have to see Samuel L. Jackson talk about a Capital One card again, I fucking hand to God. Or a Drake from State Farm. Jesus Christ.
Nick, we spun this on you. I don't know if you have a TV diary you want to go over or not.
Yeah, I'm usually more into the movie rewatch. If I'm into a binge, I'll rewatch a bunch of movies, a series or something. So this last week was pretty weird. I watched the Guy Ritchie movie, The Gentleman.
Love that movie.
And it's really good. So I watched the Guy Ritchie directed King Arthur movie. And that's super fucking bad.
Yes.
Oh man, so I love Guy Ritchie, and I realized with The Gentleman, I'm like, man, I've loved everything he's watched, even the stuff that is not like everybody's favorite.
Like Swept
Away.
I've
never seen Swept Away, Rock and Rolla, King Arthur, so I haven't seen like the worst stuff. And I know at some point I'm going to have to watch it. Like I have to see, but I know I'm going to hate King Arthur. Like I'm sure it's going to suck.
I think that would be an interesting Patreon. We should pick the shit end of a director's au revoir.
Yeah. King Arthur is the Guy Ritchie movie that's way too Guy Ritchie. If you like, there's you gotta like, Guy, calm down.
That's a rock and roller just like explodes. It's like he overdoses in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, King Arthur starts where like there's a battle with a 300-story elephant that burns people with its eyes, and I'm like, what? I obviously picked the wrong movie because this is not any King Arthur I've ever seen.
A shitload of King Arthur.
This has never happened in any other King Arthur story. And so I watched that one, and I was like, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I'm going to watch every movie that's like this that I can fucking find. So I watched the Clive Owen King Arthur.
First night?
And then what was it? I got into a huge binge of Three Musketeers. I watched the Disney one, of course, the best one. And then I watched every version of the Musketeers that has been put to film, I think.
That Tim Roth wire work one, was it Tim Roth that's in that?
Yeah, the Wire Fu one.
Yes.
Ooh.
It's got pretty good choreography. Almost nothing else is good about it.
Wu Ping right off of Matrix, if I remember right.
Is there
also surprisingly, there's a Hulu show that's Three Musketeers.
Is there
I think it's BBC, but it's on Hulu.
Is that who?
Is there a flying ship in that one, or is that just the trailer?
No, that's the Resident Evil guy.
Oh, okay.
With Mila Jovovich.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. And so like, oh man, now not only do I have a favorite version of the Musketeers, I have a favorite, version of each Musketeer of like Porthos. I was like, Porthos is always the best. Like everyone else kind of gets the shaft.
So when you get a wishing dreamstone and can bring together your own Musketeers, you're going to WandaVision it together of like different timeline, like where they're all looking at each other going, you aren't my Porthos though.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? Not Porthos.
Or I could just make them all played by Oliver Platt.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. That's always a good idea. Cool. All right. Well, that is the TV Diary. And just a reminder, you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes and throw us $1 an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with streaming services and pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, we'll be talking about time loops. Just a reminder that you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes and throwing us $1 an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with streaming services and pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, we'll be talking about time loops. Just a reminder that you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes and throwing us $1 an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with streaming services and pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, we'll be talking about time loops. Okay, that's enough of that.
Okay, am I going to have to throw a stick of dynamite at you? Like, how do we break this?
I was like, okay, if I have to Bill Murray kill myself, I'm down now.
So we are going to be talking about time loop movies and time and fun stuff like that this week. Also, we do have our $20 showrunner level. So if there are shows you want to throw into rotation, you can buy into that level and give us a couple of ideas. Okay, let's talk new business. We got shows to talk this week, and we're going to start off with Superman and Lois over on the CW.
So I think we all liked Stargirl as a surprise, like new entry to the CW that felt like it kept that CW lightheartedness, but kind of staked its own territory. I mean, it was a bring over or whatever dual thing with the DC app at the time, and it just didn't seem HBO Max ish, so it went over to CW, and it felt like CW. Superman and Lois somehow feels like CW to me, but is different a little bit than, I mean, and it may settle into the same groove as all the other CW superhero shows, but right now it feels slightly different in how it's handling its family drama. Even the effects and the problems that Superman is getting into feel, I don't know, better done to me. I'm also watching Flash's return, and I still love Flash, but it felt like a drop a little bit into like oh, I feel like this book or game or whatever or toy has a slightly lower age range marked on it.
Yeah, I was looking forward to Superman and Lois, partly because Tyler Hoechlin's been really good, and I like I like Lois on the crossover episodes. And but I was like, yeah, it's going to be a CW show. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm not sure I really want to see them going back to Smallville, and like Clark loses his job, and they've got these teenage
I want
kids.
to watch
I was
Seventh Heaven with Krypton. Shit.
Yeah, I was just like, I wasn't sure about this premise, and then that trailer the pilot just knocked me out. The opening stuff with him in the Golden Age costume, and the nod to Superman for All Seasons, is just super good. And then the stuff in Smallville has been really, really good. And the stuff they did with the kids, even where it's kind of obvious, like, oh, of course the socially awkward kid's gonna be the one with the problems. They do it in a way where I don't groan at it. I'm like, oh no, I like the way they're doing this, and they don't sell out the brothers. The brothers, like, they bust on each other. They're brothers, but they have each other's backs.
I'm shocked. I like the kids
in a way that's really interesting, and I also think they're hitting a really interesting balance of, like, Tyler Hoechlin's Superman he's Superman. Like, he if he hears a bridge breaking in China, he flies there and he's there in a second. And, like, he is on the Superman's power level. Mm-hmm. And yet he's also this sort of vulnerable, goofy dad who screws up big time as a dad sometimes. And yet at the same time, I don't ever think like, you can't have Superman being a deadbeat dad. We've seen that. I don't want that. But he's like a good dad, but he's like a realistic dad. And you're like, it's somewhat affirming to look at this as a dad and be like, oh man, if Superman can't get all this perfect, I must be doing okay.
So Nick, you've seen these, right?
Yeah. I caught up on I think there's 3 episodes out.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was excited too, because I really like the Tyler Hoechlin as Superman. Like, as far as like, when people ask like, what do you like about Superman? Like, it's like hard to put into words. And then Tyler Hoechlin comes down and is like, oh, hey, nice costume. Thanks. My mom made it. Yep. 100% serious, and like not in a joking way, like just earnest. I was like, that right there. That's why I like Superman.
Yep.
Like, and the show gets that right so often that I'm like, yes, this is the best live action version of Superman I've seen in a good decade.
Christopher Reeves had that same vibe for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. If you can compare your actor well to Christopher Reeves, that's a good sign.
Would fuck it up for me.
Yeah, but it works.
Honestly, he's so aw shucks that I think if he didn't have the stubble, it might be a little much. So you were saying? I'm sorry. You were saying, Nick?
I was just saying that it's perfect that Superman is a goober. Like, like that's a pretty good trait for him. I'm not as crazy about the kids. I feel like Jordan, especially in the 3rd episode, kind of like blows up and is like kind of like has a really selfish arc with the football thing, and it's like, yeah, I get this, but also you could easily kill a child with your powers, like, and I feel like we're not really respecting that. But either way, it's the relationships are pretty good.
I actually like the way they handled that, because I thought they were going one way. I thought they were going to have Jordan, that he's basically there for revenge, and he's just, knocking people around. But then he does the apology thing, and it's sincere. Mm-hmm. And then his brother sticks up for him, and he's like, yeah, it's not what we thought. Maybe football might be good for him. I actually really liked that bit of like, oh, they're not going in on this thing where it's like, oh, he's just a dangerous weapon. They're like, he's still a kid.
And that's the moment.
Turnaround did work for me too.
Like, every time I keep thinking like, shit, here's the precipice where in 5 minutes I'm going to be real done with these kids. And then they have Jordan not quite go as bratty as I fear they're about to, or whatever. having Jonathan stick up for him, I thought was super great. And yeah, it surprised me that the apology, like, it straight up surprised me. I also like the real screw up, and how occasionally, if Hoechlin wasn't so good at being aw shucks goober, and it being believable, this shit would get invincible real quick. Like, like, as has been done a million times, Superman is scary, and realizing that like the boys realizing that their dad can and has been listening to them anywhere on the planet through their whole lives.
Yeah.
And like the extrapolation your brain would do of like, oh crap, we're just taking his word on him not doing any number of godlike things.
Yeah.
And then in the stress moment, he runs around them at super speed. And like, I was like, don't stop, dude. Stop.
Yeah.
Like, your kids are going to fucking flee and hide from, I would flee and hide from you.
Yeah.
Or try to, at least, you know, like, because I mean, I keep having that moment in this series of like, wow, you kids have the dad. You absolutely can't fight in the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also, I think the bit with Lois, where basically he talks to Lois about it, and he's like, I thought I was going to lose you, and she's like, you almost did, and you can tell the way she plays it. It's like she's still mad about it. Like, this many years later, they've had teenage kids. They've been married for 15, 20 years. She's still mad about that thing, and he still understands what a big deal it was. Like, I thought that was really good. I like what they're doing with Lois. I think of all the characters, she's the one who's the most underserved, because she was the most famous reporter on the planet, and now suddenly she's just like reporting for the Smallville Gazette. And I'm like, I thought the way they were doing some of her, like she's looking into the Morgan Edge, and they're, you know, her editor's not sure she believes her, and she's got this one alcoholic unstable source, and then they blow up her car, which basically just confirms her story. I was like, is Edge stupid? Like,
That's what
this
I was
is a
like,
really...
Yeah, I did the same thing. She was about to walk away from you, and then thank God your man blew her car up.
Yeah, but then they played off the thing where she goes, and it's a setup, and we think that she's about to call Superman and just beat the crap out of this dude who was unfortunately just. But they're ahead of it, and they realized, oh no, Lois Lane always has Superman, so we brought a super powered thug to deal with her, and I thought that was a great reveal and a nice little bit of super fighting. I enjoyed that.
The third episode did have a couple of things. I love how. They're well balancing for me the family stuff with whatever bigger shit is happening, and I'm willing to give them some rope on the Lex Luthor stuff. I don't know what they're doing there or how they're playing that. That's a weird take on Lex.
Yeah.
But
well, you know my theory on that, right?
No,
So this is a theory I got from somewhere else. I don't remember where, but the theory is that is Alex Luthor from Earth 3.
I was wondering if this was a multiverse. Well, it has to be, because they showed Lois's dad.
Yeah, and if his Kal-El is like, if that's the evil universe, you know, where Lex Luthor is the good guy, and it basically that's how, if he's like, oh, Superman was evil in my universe and he's going to turn evil here.
Yep.
I can totally see that.
Yep. So he just needs to take that suit off and let him X-ray his heart, so he sees his organs are flipped, right?
Right. Flipped on the other side. Oh no, you're from another dimension. No, we see this.
We see this all the time. Yeah.
We get this all the time.
So this third episode though had the Lois's car burning. I thought was that cracked me up, and was, even though it's a sloppy villain move, I thought it was cool. But then, like, the next scene, Clark has the moment where he's talking to Lana and is like, I left my keys in the... It's Smallville.
Smallville.
I'm like,
yes.
I mean, you're down to just that truck you just left the keys in Smallville because someone in Smallville Molotov cocktailed your other car. So maybe take the keys. Like, maybe Smallville's not Smallville. And then also, like, I can't believe that that the dude he fights over in the motel room doesn't put together that like later on when he reports in, he's like, Superman came and saved the guy's mom, and like, no man, you pretty much killed her. Superman saved Lois, and if you don't put the math together on that, you deserve whatever the fuck happens to you as a villain. But in the moment, I didn't care, because that fight was rad. And I feel like this is Hoagland's other strength in being a goober of a Clark Kent, is that when his Superman looks tired of this fight, it works for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like it's Superman has gotten tired of this aw shucks thing and is now just going to reveal that he's an evil dude, you know, which is how Superman I mean, I like Henry Cavill, but when he tears loose in a Zack Snyder movie, it looks like he's just dropped this charade and is a god now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's scary, and I think it's because Zack Snyder thinks Superman is scary. But Hoagland's not scary. He just looks... When he looks tough, it's because he looks scared. Like, there's a moment of, like, I'm on the floor nearly unconscious, and Lois is screaming, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done with this dude. But then how many powered people are in the show? Like,
well, here's the thing.
I love how fast they're stacking this up.
This isn't the CW universe because it's Supergirl's universe, right? I mean, so
this is like Earth, whatever it is, 4.
Well, I mean, so like this should be this is the same Earth from Flash. I mean, we could have Flash in this. Like
that's right. After the crossover, it's all one.
This is that universe. So I feel like there's tons of superpowered people. I'm hoping at some point we'll get a crossover with I mean, I'm sure we'll get a crossover, but I would love to see Supergirl pop up in this a little bit. I would love to see a little bit more of that. Maybe if they were to do, I would have liked her to show up for Ma Kent's funeral or something. I think that would have been kind of cool. Yeah. But yeah, this has been really good, and I like they probably wanted to stand on its own a little bit, and I think that makes sense. But I'm enjoying this way more than I expected to. I thought I would maybe like it, but it's like ranking as some of my favorite shows this year.
Yeah,
I liked it as well. Yeah. One question.
Yeah.
Is there that Lana's husband?
Yeah.
Does anyone else think he was originally the dick sheriff of the town, and then they switched him to be a fireman? Because everything he does is Dick Fireman dialogue or Dick sheriff dialogue, but he's a fireman instead.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
His attitude makes it really unclear what shitty public service he provides.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job of making they're like, well, this is our Trump voter, and there's gonna be a lot of people like him. And they the only way that they humanized him was he's married to Lana, but they're starting to already show the cracks of that, and I'm betting that he's not going to make it.
Oh man, I love Sloane so much. I really like the actress they cast, Emmanuel Shariq, I think is her name, Shark.
Yeah.
For Lana, I had to look. I was like, why do I know you?
Oh. And they totally do
Sloane.
that thing in TV shows where they have a huge family discussion in front of other people in public.
Yeah.
Of things that are hard to talk about in private, but they're gonna just talk about it in the midst of
No, I've never told you why
I'm gonna kill myself,
suicide.
Mom.
This diner's the perfect spot.
I loved Jonathan's look on his face, like, oh Jesus, this is way too personal. Oh boy.
Oh my God.
I'd rather be anywhere but here.
The brothers really Jordan's so baby faced it hurts. Like that kid is so guileless on his face. But then Jonathan has the crazy Ray Liotta ice eyes and does really great expressions, because when she says suicide and he just sits up at the booth okay, we're just gonna Kent boys over here fading into the wall.
I feel like Jonathan Kent got he would have been he's the Kirk Cameron of the bunch. He would have been the snarky teenager in any family sitcom in the 90s. I love him in that. I think he's great. I think they not giving him the powers was the obvious ironic move, and I'm so glad they did it, because he's doing it really well, playing the sort of well, I was the jock and all this, and all of a sudden my brother's getting all the attention, and I think they're playing that really well.
I like how protective he is of Jordan.
Yeah,
he's still very a Kent.
I still don't believe that you can throw a football spiral and break a rope hanging from a tree like that without superpowers. I think there's still going to be a reveal on him.
I bet there is. That wouldn't surprise me over much.
Though, so we called the show this time "Growing Pains," and you'd mentioned Alan Thicke earlier, and of course, WandaVision we're going to talk about has its great various theme songs. I don't think they should use it every time, but I really hope someone on YouTube puts together a really great Seventh Heaven 90s CW theme song for Superman and Lois that explains it all. You gotta move out of the city.
I like it. All right, so let's jump over to Hulu and NBC and talk about one of the weirdest shows I think I've watched this year, which is Young Rock.
I really thought you should say Debris right there, but you're right. Young Rock is far fucking stranger.
Young Rock is way weirder than Debris.
Space metal, dude. Way weirder.
So the pitch for this is that it's 2032. Dwayne Johnson is running for president. Mm-hmm. Randall Park has given up acting and now has an interview show, and he is interviewing Dwayne Johnson about his life as information for the voters. And so we get to flashback and we see Dwayne Johnson as a 10-year-old maybe, and then him as a teenager, and then him as a college student, I think. This is a weird premise.
I honestly, it's so fucked up. I love everything about this. I also am fully ready to vote for Dwayne Johnson in 2032 because I've just given up. But and I feel like this show is an actual hand to God meta way of genuinely running for president. That's where we are in our society now. That this is an 11-year long game or whatever the fuck. I'm terrible.
Just like the Apprentice, this is a exploratory committee on live television.
This is an actual exploratory committee for a presidency.
Well, everything worked out great the last time NBC picked our president, so...
It's true. I think NBC's going for 2.
I liked how Randy's like little pause after, like, this is a weird premise. Oh, you're done. Oh, okay. I thought there was going to be a butt after that, but like, no,
Randy
this is
and I
fucking
talked
weird.
a little bit about Young Rock before, and I knew that was where he was going to stop.
It's just so damn weird. And here's the thing. I like but don't love it. I think I'm as likely to continue with this as I am with Mr. Mayor. It's just not quite clicking for me. But I like it better than I thought I was going to. I thought I was just going to hate this or just think it was dumb. I understand the appeal of it. The wrestlers they've got playing, like they're Andre the Giant and all those guys they got playing the wrestlers in his dad's sequence. Mm-hmm. They're really good, but I don't give a shit about wrestling. And in some ways, I'm actively hostile toward it. And I think that's part of why this is not working for me.
Oh, you're going to hate the times where he hangs out with anime characters.
You don't like sweaty dude superheroes?
I feel like all the I like all the acting scenes. It's working for me a lot better than it's working for Randy. It feels like an everybody hates Chris kind of vibe. I mean, that's the kind of sitcom, but with this weird meta framework. Randall Park is being real strange, and I love him. But all the wrestlers look underweight, like they look like the right height but skinny somehow. And it's weird. Like I only know who they are because of their costumes, or on Andre the Giant's thing. They just found a really tall dude, but he looks a lot more lurch than Andre.
You know who Andre the Giant is, right?
No, who is that actor?
That's Matthew Willig from Terriers and a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
Whenever you need a heavy.
That's the dude that throws him into the wall and fucks his back up. Yep. Totally. Yep.
Matthew Willig has been in a bunch of stuff. He's always great. And so I was like, he's fantastic.
He's doing great. Like I like all of them, but they all look like weird, skinny cartoon versions of themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
And the whole show's got an inflated balloon seriousness to it. Like it's just a goofy, cartoony kind of show. Natasha Khan is the creator of.
God bless you.
Yes. The creator of Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 is part of the show running team on this, her and Jeff Chang. And I feel like there's some of that just weirdness coming through. I wish there was a little more. Yeah. But I genuinely, I feel like this is a straight up exploratory committee for an actual 2032.
I love The Rock's PR guy, like that keeps trying to.
Yes. I can't remember his name that he keeps. Randall Park keeps losing.
Randall Park's like, no, this is some good shit.
Shut up.
I think if there's a weakness for me is that in the flashbacks, there's one like you said, it was like the 10-year-old him, teenage him, and then college age him. And I like the teenage him way more than any of the other ones.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because the actor they have playing the teenage him fucking nails this like confidence of The Rock of like you act exactly what I think Rock would act like a high school kid.
Yeah,
like even Dwayne Johnson says himself, like his gimmick is like, oh, I knew what my gimmick was. It's just being me, but the dial is at 11. And like that's what the kid is playing, and I'm like, I kind of wish the whole show was that in the flashbacks and not like it focuses really heavy on his dad in the kid ones, and it's just I don't know, the dad has kind of like a one note of like I'm making bad decisions and jumping in too early, and that seems to be kind of his thing in each episode, but you know,
delusionally thinking I'm the best, and clearly
Vince McMahon's number one guy. Like
I told Lisa, I was like, I don't know exactly how this story goes, but I feel confident in saying that no one's business deal with Vince McMahon is going to go well.
Well, sure, you're his number one guy in the same way that you're Jack Nicholson's number one guy in the Batman movie.
Yes, he will definitely kill you for spectacle.
Let's talk about the other weird show, though. It's also an NBC. I think it's an NBC show, and it's a or is it a Fox show? I think it's NBC. I don't know. It's on. They're all on Hulu to me. So that is Debris, which is from the creator of Fringe. Is that right?
Yes. J.H. Wyman. Is that his name? Is that the name?
I think that's right.
Yes.
So I've only watched a handful of Fringe. I never finished it out.
Oh, I love Fringe.
But this, when I saw this, I think I messaged you and Kyle, and I was like, well, here's the latest disappointing genre show from network television.
This is substantially, in my opinion, better than Manifest or any of the other mononym.
4400.
Yeah, actually, I like 4400.
4400 is great.
2000s, 90s. But what was there's Salvation.
Yeah.
And
was Manifest the one where the plane landed with people? Yeah.
That's Manifest. There's a bunch of those.
Or the Disappearance or something like that.
The bridge, the divide, the portal, the whatever.
Yeah.
Every year or two they try and get that lost money back.
Totally.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, I was telling Nick before we got on mic, this is not a taste I like, but it's like a really fucked up chip flavor. We're like, no, that I don't think that's good, but you know what? Give me another one though.
Yeah.
Because every episode so far, and I've watched the first two, and in both of them, there's a point where I'm bored, where I'm like, I don't care about this. This is just event show sci-fi, and then they do something where I'm like, well, that's cool.
Yeah. I like the two leads quite a bit. I think
I really like Jonathan Tucker from Black Donnellys and New Charlie's Angels, and
yeah, he looks
Agent Resting Bitch Face.
Yes.
But the girl, what's her name? She has a nutty name. It's
Finland. No. Holy crap!
Finola Jones. I'm like,
J.H.
that
Wyman
is a
also
weird.
wrote The Mexican. Holy shit.
That's a weird name for a lead character, but I like her. I like her character, and I like the chemistry the two of them have together. I thought the second episode did some interesting stuff where it's like suddenly there's clones of these people, and it's like this one guy, and then the clone when the clone of himself shows up and he has a shootout with himself. That was a cool moment. Like there's some interesting stuff they're doing here, also, and they're making the Alien Tech weird and scary. Like it's really alien, and I like that.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I'm not like 100% in on it.
The most interesting thing they're doing for me is where they've placed me as an audience member as far as ignorance and knowledge in the show, because every time they show up at a scene, they have protocols and breakout tech, not just to like Warehouse 13 bag it and put it in some goo, but like, no, try this path of protocols to shut it down. Like there's clearly been some research and some tech setup and some knowledge about all of this, and I love that. Like I'm learning and watching the show with the characters going forward because they're seeing new shit. There's something going on with the debris, whatever the fuck the weirdos are building. There's stuff happening in the show, but I'm also as an audience member learning backwards as I watch the show, because I'm picking up how all of their ghost busting equipment works and like what's happened before. You know, these aren't the first cases. I'm used to a show like this starting with the like, we just got report of a piece of alien metal that fell from the sky. Like, no. Alien metal's been falling from the sky for months.
Yeah.
We're trying to find all of it now.
I do think the premise is solid. It starts a little text scrawl. It's got a little creepy text scrawl of they saw an alien spacecraft and it exploded and it's raining debris on Earth. That's a fun, like that's a good, holy shit, that would change everything premise. And I do really like what they're doing. They're not doing the Superman in Black thing where like they go in and they clean everything up and nobody knows what's going on. But it's still sort of mysterious, and it's still like they're a shadowy government agency and there's someone working against them. So it does feel very fringy in that way.
I'm realizing, looking at J.H. Wyman's career, that I've liked pretty much everything this dude's done. He wrote the movie The Mexican with Brad Pitt in 2001. I really liked that movie. Keen Eddie, which I loved. It was a British cop show with an American lead. Fringe, Almost Human.
Oh, wow.
And now Debris.
Oh, that knowing that he'd Almost Human keeps me interested too, because I loved Almost Human. That show I would have loved.
And it was
6
just
more
starting to
seasons
get
back.
fucking
Yep.
season 2 would have had a whole fucking army. God
Yep.
damn it.
Yep, it breaks my heart every
It
time.
was one of my suggestions for Good Die Young of how good it was.
Yeah.
God damn you.
Yep. And then Michael Ealy went on to go on to Stumptown and was great there, and they canceled that show too.
Guy can't catch a break. Debris, or under what I guess mine was a different title, under the Midwestern title of Deborah's, like less watched. I hated it. I really disliked it.
Wow.
The premise is good. I'll give you that, Randy. Like, oh, this is an interesting premise of like a crashed alien ship, and like what like all the different like pieces do of like, oh shit, this thing does a whole different crazy thing than this other one. And it's a great idea for multiple episodes and kind of an episode shard of the week, you know. But I think me and Les were talking about it of like what was the title, like the running title of this was Prestige Junk. And it was like, no, we have to call it something else. Like, but that's what the show is.
But that's the type of show it is. Yeah, but we can't. You put an intern on this.
Okay, well, what's some like a synonym or something similar?
Six-letter word for Prestige Junk.
Sure. And that's what it feels like to me of like the characters have like these philosophical conversations of like, was this ship sent here? What does it mean? And I was like, well, it means a ship blew up and it blew up near towards Earth. Like whatever, if it was a plan, it didn't go great for the aliens. Like,
yeah, if no one's like convinced that it's like, well, they sent it here, and like, no, I mean, it's just in space. It just
she thinks it's like it's a higher purpose, us. And I'm like, no, it's an accident. It's like for sure an accident. But also the score has to calm the fuck down.
That is 100% fair. But that's a Fringy thing too. Didn't Fringe do that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, not every goddamn scene can be sinister or whimsically sinister. And I didn't even know whimsically sinister was a thing you could be, but that's what this show is doing a lot.
I watch subtitles and everything, and so you'd be surprised how many musical combinations there are. Art and pop music, and
yeah. So, Nick, it sounds like you feel about this the way I felt about Departure over on Peacock. That's the one with
the other ones.
Archie Punjab. We forgot about that. Was terrible.
So it's always a one-word, like vague thing.
Yeah. You felt about this the way I expected to feel about this.
Yeah.
Randy, I realized when I was thinking about Archie Punjabi the other day, when we watched that show, I was having to explain to you how badass she was, because I don't think you'd watched Good Wife at that point.
No.
But you have watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So Boyle's funeral hookup, the weird nameless funeral hookup that he has in a few episodes.
I don't remember this.
He has this... it's like every time there's an officer funeral and they have to go, and like they have this escalating, and then they start hooking up in a motel across the street, and like she never wants to know his name or anything about him.
It's super hot that they don't know their name.
Yeah.
Anything about
each
other.
Like everybody's like, that's super fucking weird, Boyle. You got to find out something about her, and he finds out she's a vegan.
Yeah.
and then he just loses it, and it completely boils out. But like I rewatching all this Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I had a moment of like, oh my god, that, and I absolutely did not think that is Departure's Archie Punjabi.
No.
I was like, that is Good Wife's.
Yeah.
Archie Punjabi.
Who famously could not be in the same room with Juliana Margulies
right,
by
that's
the end.
right.
Yep.
Left that show because they hated each other.
Yep. Anyway, so Debris, kind of a split decision. I don't know if I'm the only one who watched this one. Pacific Rim: The Black. Did you guys watch any of this?
I watched it all.
Oh, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Les, I know how you love anime.
I made it 10, maybe 15 minutes into this.
Nick, what did you think of this?
Well, I mean, I finished it.
Yep.
I like anime actually. Like out of all the TV dudes, I guess I would be more of an anime guy. Like, I like My Hero Academia and stuff. I don't like this 3D thing that they do.
Yeah.
The 3D thing is distracting.
There's more shading than normal on this, right? Like, that's fucking weird, right?
It's halfway between a Telltale game and like some sort of like screensaver thing, and it's the weight of the fights aren't right. Like it feels kind of like two styrofoam things are fighting each other. It's hard to explain, but like I really, and then what they do is a weird thing of like if a human is still, like a lot of dead humans are 2D animated for some reason. So you got a 3D animated person looking down at this 2D animated person like, oh my god, they're 2D now. That's so bad. They'll never be 3D again.
The soul is the third dimension. It's like a very Doctor Who statement.
And it's just kind of like, wait, why is this random person 2D? Like that's super fun. Isn't that harder to than making a 3D model? Just lay still? Like, I don't understand this. Also, Australia is super empty. I mean, not like even just for post-apocalyptic Australia of like, there's like 3 people on screen at one time that have a face. Crowds. Yeah.
I mean, it's the pandemic, like, Nick, you can't have that many cartoons in a room.
Also, they set up a bunch of rules and stuff that they immediately break. Like, you know, like only you need 2 people to drift, except when you don't, and that's a lot.
So I really love Pacific Rim the movie. Like the original movie, I adored. Me too. The second one, I didn't hate. Like it's not anywhere near. It's not in the same ballpark. It is basically like the direct-to-video sequel, but there's stuff I like about it. And this one takes place basically after both of them. It references the stuff that happened in the second one, but it's all like in the Australian outback. They're very much swerving into the post-apocalyptic thing, but because Netflix always wants to pitch their anime a little bit younger, they decided to make it about these 2 teenage kids who lost their parents who find a Jaeger. And it's like a training Jaeger with no weapons. It's a weird call, and it does feel like it feels a little less like Pacific Rim at times. I feel like I'm like, wait, there are dog-sized kaiju that the other kaiju eat? When did
they
this
call them
happen?
small kaiju, and I'm like, wait, that's not a thing.
And like there's some weirdness, like you say, the rules, they're really inconsistent about the rules. But there's a gem of a good show in here. The sort of scumbag hard ass who's running the post-apocalyptic raiders they run into.
One of the 2 people that have an Australian accent in the show,
and the girl that
in Australia,
the girl that he raised. I thought both of them were interesting. I thought those were both really interesting characters. And the big thing that happens at the end to one of the characters was actually legitimately shocking. I did not see that coming.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that woke me up a minute. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Like that.
It's like, oh, this is dark.
Yeah, May and that tech guy that had a stroke during it. Like, and I kind of like that idea of like when you drift with somebody, it's not just like it's not like a one-time thing. You get like their memories, skill sets. Like you can really fuck yourself up like cerebrally. Like there's brain damage going on.
There's some interesting ideas, right? Like there's ideas here that work, but as a whole, I binged this in one shot, and mostly I did it while I was doing other stuff. Like it is background watching for me. And
me too. I like edited during it.
I started off, and it has kaiju thrown down with Jaegers, and it's a big fight. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This is what I come to Pacific Rim for. And then there wasn't much of that in the rest of the show.
Oh yeah, like by episode 4, I was like, wow, sure is a whole lot of not giant robots fighting giant monsters in this show. Yeah. And with that, you're left with Pacific Rim, the story and like the basic like world that it left, and it's like, the draw here was the giant robot monster fights.
Yeah, I sort of half recommend it. It's like if you are a big Pacific Rim fan like I am, if you really like the world, you want to see more of it. This is kind of if you squint. This is a third sequel, but it's still not great. It is not up to the level of, say, most of Netflix other anime, like their Transformers stuff, or even though like Castlevania, some of that stuff. Like it's not some of their better stuff.
Oh, Randy, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is the black? What is it?
I don't know.
Oh my god, they never get
it.
Okay.
They keep like, what are they like? The kids pretend like, oh yeah, the black. What the fuck is that? What they're talking about? They never answer it.
Was it originally just going to be called Pacific Rim Outback, and they couldn't use that because of the steakhouse or something?
Maybe.
They're just but Bloomin' Onion is a really great Jaeger name, though.
Oh my god! If their Jaeger was called Bloomin' Onion, my ranking would go up by at least a star.
I would have watched a full episode of this if the training Jaeger had been called Bloomin' Onion.
Bloomin' Onion.
Yeah, fuck Gypsy Danger.
Right.
And what if instead of having the knife like Gypsy Danger, it's like it pops out instead of a sword, it has a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's the kaiju is like pops out claws. He's like, you think that's a knife? This is a knife.
His whole back flares out into like a circle. I mean, you could see this in anime, you know?
Yeah.
Tons of little missiles fly out.
Oh, also like the little boy trope of like there's a mysterious little boy they find in a vat. And like that goes exactly where you think it's going.
It's so predictable, yes.
Yeah, so
you're like, I think I know exactly what this thing is. Let's see if they change up anything about this plot line. No? Okay.
I know I don't play
and they call him just boy. They totally
he's called Kaiju Boy in the credits. Yeah.
And I'm like, look, if Kratos calls someone by it, it's a fucked up thing to call someone by, okay? Give him a name.
I don't always plug in, I mean, I know I don't plug in anime nearly at all, but this thing opened with a fight that I get exactly what Nick's talking about. I didn't plug into the fight. It just felt weird and no stakes, and I just didn't get into it. And then it was over, and it was like watching a Twitch stream of somebody driving across, like, hey, you could drive all the way up Pacific Coast 1 in Grand Theft Auto, and it takes hours. Like, cool. Why the fuck would I want to watch two kids walk across Australia in a practice Jaeger? Also, who are these kids? And to find out that, like, because I was trying to do other stuff, and I realized I couldn't even do other stuff in it. I hadn't plugged into it enough to be tethered to walk away, and so I just turned it off. But now I feel I made the right decision, because I know that it wouldn't have brought back more Jaeger fights, which weren't really working for me, but they were better than the kids. And also, no one would have ever explained the title, and that would have pissed me off.
Yeah.
I feel like this exposed problems I had with Pacific Rim. Like, I loved the first movie because it was big, goofy fun.
Mm-hmm.
But
it has that firestorm problem, like in Legends, of like they have to have a lot of excuses to get out of the Jaeger and not be in the giant robot, because being in a giant robot kind of solves a lot of your problems.
Yeah. There's for all of the feeling that they really did do a lot of thinking about the drift and the science and stuff in Pacific Rim, there's a lot of extrapolated fucking problems with it all. And
that's the one thing about Pacific Rim that's actually pretty interesting as far as character development and learning things about characters is the drift idea. Like, and that's for as far as development and finding out things about people. And now they've added an element where you can adjust people's memories. Like you can brainwash people sort of like and extract, like Inception style, extract information, and it kind of fucks people up, you know?
Yeah. They came up with a sci-fi concept that is so much cooler and more like Philip K. Dickian than giant fighting robots. That a part of me is like, look, figure out these giant monsters crawled out of a crack, and the only way we can fight them is there has to be a more efficient way than that giant robot.
It's kind of like Dollhouse, where the technology, like the show was about something, but then they realized, the technology we're using for the dolls is way more interesting than anything else we're doing.
Like, so somebody ran a whorehouse for a minute, and then it got out and wrecked the whole world. And that's kind of how I feel about like, okay, so at some point when you stopped letting 8-year-olds run your civil defense, what did you build after the robots though?
Yeah, but then they built walls.
Drift technology. Holy shit. How do you not have guild navigators running your electrical grid? Like,
I do recommend, by the way, both the pitch meeting and the Honest trailer for Pacific Rim.
I've not watched Honest trailer, but watching the anime had me thinking, is there a pitch meeting for this? Because I want to watch it now.
So I also, the one last thing I want to leave with this, I don't know who this show is for, because it's very, like, as Nick mentioned, like, the story is very predictable. And the leads are teenagers. Like, it seems like they were aiming at like a teenage audience, but then the shit that happens toward the end and some of the stuff that goes on with May is really dark for a teenage audience.
Really dark.
So, like, I don't know if who you thought you were making the show for.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I thought this was for kids, but there's like murder and like implied like child prostitution. Like there's
Yeah.
like a whole, like, I'm like, I don't know if this is like the subject matter here is pretty adult.
Yeah. Okay, let's quick spoiler warning. We have always may do spoilers, but I want to give a special spoiler warning for WandaVision. If you've not finished it, go finish it out. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk in detail. We're going to talk all the way through the season finale, and I would recommend this is a good time to check out if you're not caught up. Guys, let's talk WandaVision. Nick, you've not been on the show to talk WandaVision yet, so give us your hot take over the series overall.
It's great. Flawless.
Okay.
No problems
Flawless.
ever. No, there is a thing of like Les was saying, there is a thing going on where Marvel knows it, or Kevin Feige or someone there knows they've built up cred, then they're actually spending it now of like, okay, we can have 2 episodes of just a black and white sitcom and people are still going to watch. We can have 2 ghost robots talk to each other about the ship of Theseus and people are going to watch. And like, so they kind of know they have us, so they're willing to spend a little bit more. They're willing to take more risks with it. And that's what I really love about the show. And flaws and all of like, it should have been in 1 episode with the black and white sitcom. Yes, it should have. Does it really ruin it for me? Nah. Like Kevin Feige likes sitcoms, and this is his thing that he wanted to do. There is the whole thing of like Les saying like the Agatha All Along song is awesome. It's so great and so not true. It's just incorrect, and you're kind of like, well, she's actually as confused as everybody else and trying to figure this out.
She just got closer than Sword, but it could also have been Darcy all along.
Also, yeah, the sword director at the end is like a super villain for no reason. Like,
so Matt Shackman, the showrunner, did an interview, and I found a couple interesting things out. One is that because of COVID, the finale was supposed to be much different. Like Monica was supposed to have a much bigger role in the finale, and they were making that finale really close to the deadline. In fact, that's why there were 2, not 3 episodes the first week. That it was supposed to be 3 episodes the first week. So we were supposed to see all the way up to Monica getting ejected as the first batch. And had they done that,
that would have worked better.
I think both Les and I would have had a lot less complaints about it. We still would have been like, it still would have felt self-indulgent.
But it would have felt like an indulgent director's cut of like, this movie's 20 minutes too long, rather than you're making me wait a week for another 50 sitcom with no credit stinger.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna really make you hate the words "please stand by."
Right.
But that was
first
literally
act
why
of Pleasantville over and over.
That was literally why it happened. That was actually a COVID thing. They wouldn't have had the finale ready. They would have had to wait a week before they get the finale done.
Yeah.
Which would have been a nightmare, having them like take a week off.
Nope, I see why they did that.
Here's our big cliffhanger. See you in 2 weeks. People would have burned the internet down.
Just do the Terrence and Philip fart episode.
So I'm inclined to forgive them for that pacing at this point. Although I still remain, I am unapologetic in thinking that they are self-indulgent in those first couple episodes.
Yeah, it absolutely was. That said, I had taken as a piece. I feel like it makes kind of a neat conceptual or whatever meta bookend that it starts as tamped down, plain, no admission of just barely any admission of weirdness, and it ends on like bug shit robot fight in a hex magic thing. Though, so this year we've had we had Wonder Woman 84 just recently lay down something that they just absolutely didn't deal with the ramifications of. The whole Steve Rogers, or not Steve Rogers, the whole Steve Trevor body possession, rape, sex thing. And they just didn't deal with any of the ramifications of it. And here they at least try to, in as much as Disney can, show the like horror of what the fuck she did to this town. Like, when you let us sleep, we have your nightmares. Please just let us die. And like, that's Foreman's mom. And like, that's just crazy. That's Kitty. Like, that's just crazy. But then as she's walking out of the town and they're staring daggers at her, and I'm waiting for them to tear her apart in the square like Mussolini. and Monica's like, well, they don't know what you sacrificed for them. Like, you stopped tripping. Like, you sacrificed a hallucination.
Now, see, this is where Jeff was at when we were talking on the MCO pod, and I don't think that's true, because yes, those kids weren't quote unquote real; she created her magic.
She pulled them from another dimension. She can't make stuff out of thin air.
But also, more importantly, it's not just like the kids that she's known for 2 weeks. That is her chance to have kids. Like, it is not just the kids; it is the children that she was going to watch grow into teenagers and grow old, becoming the grandmother of their.
The idea of her family with vision, yeah.
And so that's what she sacrificed.
Yeah,
that's
the thing that normal people grieve at a funeral every day.
Yeah,
without fucking a whole town.
That's what the theme of the show is, kind of like grief can be a destructive, self-destructive and outwardly destructive force.
Yeah,
dealing with it before superpowers come in.
Yeah,
you throw superpowers in there and shit can go nuts.
Just to have Monica say that, like, well, they don't know that you were grieving. Like,
I agree with Randy in saying that, like, yeah, that really worked for me, especially her saying goodbye at the end.
Yeah.
I also agree with Les that, like, okay, even if I knew that, if I was one of these townspeople, I'd still be pretty mad.
Oh yeah, the townspeople should be angry, and I think one of the things that worries me is that in the comics, and I blame John Byrne for a lot of this, and I blame Bendis for the other half of it. They couldn't deal with Scarlet Witch's powers, and so they basically decided to make her a villain. And as a result, she has been forever tarred as this. Sometimes she's a villain person, and they decided to do that. The MCU is they take stuff in the comics that doesn't quite work, and they usually make it work better. They did make it work better here, but I don't really want Wanda to be this dangerous loose cannon. I don't want her to be Dark Phoenix. I didn't really want that aspect of it, and so I'm a little unhappy that basically these villagers, the people in this village, have a reason to hate her, and I don't like that they have a reason to hate her because the writers made that choice. And so I want to give her more benefit of the doubt just because I don't want Wanda to turn out to be a villain.
But in the same way that Wonder Woman not only didn't address the Steve Trevor thing, but then they doubled down in like the tag at the end of having her run into the guy and be like, hey, you're kind of cute. Like, you don't know that I slept with you last week. And in that same way, like, Wanda doesn't learn any kind of real lesson on that being a wrong thing to do to people, because she absolutely makes sure that Agatha comes back as a crazed villain later.
Yeah.
Because what she leaves her with is so evil. Because now you know. Like when the other people, the townspeople, woke up and were like, this is hell, and she's like, no, it's not. But now, like, oh no, I mean, they just made clear that I understand that this is hell, and I'm just going to do it to you. You're like supernatural, like the demons are killing people, and you're just riding along. Cool.
I get that, but Agatha was like strangling her kids, and at that point, I lose all sympathy for Agatha. I'm like,
totally, but
yeah.
But I also like that is fucked up.
Yeah,
I also like that anything to not kill one of the Marvel villains, like to keep some of them around. I was excited, like, oh, I'm not going to kill you. I'm like, yes, finally, we're going to keep one around. Oh, I'm going to do something so much worse to you. Oh boy.
I was mad at the point that they overplayed their hand. So, like, when they had her leash and try to kill the kids, and like, I was like, okay, now they've overplayed their hand, and they aren't going to be able to have Agatha do her role from the comics of teaching her. And so when Agatha makes the offer of like, I could teach you how to do it, I'm like, it's too late.
Yeah,
they've already decided you're going to be a dire or worse than death villain.
They definitely steered into the villain thing. I actually think they underused Catherine Hahn at the end, because I feel like she became like a cackling villain, and I think that was too bad.
Yeah, as soon as you have a villain end a song with "I killed a dog," ha 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 ha, it's like, I guess we're gonna not do a whole black and a lot of gray area here. Yeah, what was it like when like the town, like, oh, so you're gonna do the thing to a person that just like 5 minutes ago a whole town, like Eric's mom, begged for death rather than this fate. And then one woman, which really broke me, was that, please, my husband was on a work trip, please just don't let him come back. And like, she has accepted her hellish fate and just wants to have it avoid for her loved ones. I was like
a 70s sci-fi horror vibe at that moment.
Yeah,
like this sad Twilight Zone, please kill me.
Yeah.
The thing I really liked in this and the previous episode, they get some good, especially Vision really gets to shine here. Paul Bettany just does phenomenal work. Actually, so does Elizabeth Olsen. She's amazing in this. Like you see her grief and her just absolute just anger at everything that she's not processing properly. But Vision gets those two lines, the one about what is grief if not love persevering.
Yeah, just wonderful line.
And the Ship of Theseus thing. I love that the last thing, instead of two robots blasting each other, they get enough of that to make us happy. But then it's basically just two robots reasoning together. I love that.
Would have been cool if he'd have mentioned to his soon-to-be grieving widow that there's a second one of me with all my memories out there that is, I just argued exactly the same as me.
But you can't do that for story reasons. Like you,
no.
I mean,
because we need him to. Well, then I'll get completely off of that thing, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to get all the way off my back about that.
Yeah, you have to. You lose.
Get off that thing.
You lose one of their strongest emotional moments if she knows Vision's around, and that's why.
Yeah, but I know Vision's around, so it's just a cheap moment. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get past your crying so that you can see the Vision's right over there.
I was into it. I definitely cried at this. I thought it hooked me emotionally. It definitely got me. What do you guys think about the Ralph Boner of it all?
That
the middle finger to the audience of like, that'll teach you for theorizing.
So two things going on. I don't think Marvel understands what like the differences in Easter eggs and like puzzly plot reveals, because they just pepper it with a mention of shit that they don't. There is no figuring out what was going to happen next or whatever. Like Marvel's just going to do whatever the fuck they're going to do, and they're just dropping shit. Like, why a beekeeper crawling out of the sewer? Like, I get that he transformed because of WandaVision crawling into the thing, but like, what? Why was she making credits? Just weird, like just lots of little shit that like doesn't really mean anything. Randy, you posted a thing on Facebook of like, I know a thing or two. The Thing confirmed.
Yes.
And like. And so I do feel like the Ralph Boner was a middle finger to that kind of stuff.
And I'm good with that.
But separately, there's an absolute inability to admit that Marvel isn't that this isn't like Sunday Times crossword, the hardest Sudoku you've ever done. And I have already seen two articles that literally are like, the Ralph Boner reveal is actually better than bringing in mutants. And this is why you don't understand. I'm like, come on. It's not. It's a dick joke, and it's a middle finger. And they're probably still going to bring mutants in, but you're not going to guess where, and that's what they're trying to like.
Here's the thing.
Well, what I like about that is that Marvel, like, even though people will guess things that happen, they won't try and pull a Hail Mary or anything like Game of Thrones or something of like, oh, well, we'll try and change it so it's still surprising. Like, no, we're going to keep it because it makes sense story-wise. If you guessed it, that's fine.
Cool. Yeah.
I don't want the mutants and the FF to show up in the TV shows necessarily. It feels small. It feels weird. Like I don't need them to do that kind of big world building. I need them to do exactly what WandaVision did, which is flesh out these characters in a way that they...
Put it this way, there are no movies anymore. Every once in a while, they release 3 episodes at once. Some weeks they show those in a special building.
Movies out, so...
Yes.
Also, both the Stingers. I'm a huge Monica Rambeau fan. I love that we're basically going to get her and Nick Fury and the Skrulls and all that stuff. We are 2 years out from Captain Marvel 2, and I'm not happy about that.
Stinger. I also liked what I assume is Wonder Mountain. And I love the callback to Doctor Strange of her.
I think you're probably right.
Studying
and that's
astral
great.
projection style. And bringing the Darkhold, the best part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., into a show that is
like that
a whole league, or maybe 2 leagues, but it might be a different sport, better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Les, you said to me in a text, but I think you're right. This is the first TV show Marvel's done.
Yeah, Nick and I were talking about this a few days ago, that if you were to throw in in-game style time heist cutscenes into this show, the quality wouldn't jar. Like you could cut to the Legend style, let's show Ant-Man whooping Falcon's ass, and then cut back to WandaVision, and you'd be like, oh yeah, no, that was just another scene. Yeah, and yeah.
Well, they do that. They use footage from Avengers 2. And
Yeah,
it
the
works.
Vision fight is perfect.
Yeah, no, the Vision fight looks fucking great.
Planned out the choreography for how two Kitty Pryde density changing people can fight. I love it. The amount of times that they let a punch go through their forearm, turn solid around the other arm, and throw the person with it. Just weird shit like that. Super.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was simultaneously super confused and yet super excited about what was happening.
I realized
I don't understand even the physics of this, but I know that it's rad.
Not always catch exactly what they're doing. And I thought about the fucking 30 minutes or an hour of behind the scenes fawning about when Man of Steel came out and like how the flying shaky cam worked and all this shit and like and like this is what superpowered beings would look like when they fist fight in the air and like okay. That was a lot more clear to watch as a fight than anything I watched in Man of Steel, and it looks so good.
Yeah, I remember when we and Les had the conversation. I said, like, when I was watching the show, I distinctly thought, like, oh, in the comics, Vision would just talk himself to death, and I'm like, that would make sense. But if they don't show two ghost robots shooting lasers at each other, I'm gonna be super pissed. And so
they do that.
Suddenly they do that. It's awesome. And then the White Vision was like, I need clarification. I'm like, well, they fought for a little while. That's what was important.
The Vision fight is perfect. Yeah. And whoever planned out the choreography for how two Kitty Pryde density changing people can fight.
Yeah.
I love it. The amount of times that they let a punch go through their forearm, turn solid around the other arm, and throw the person with it. Just weird shit like that.
Yeah. If there's anything Marvel's good at, it's having their cake and eating it too somehow. I've never seen another studio or anything be
I realized
so good
I could probably rewatch that fight 10 times and still not always catch exactly what they're doing. And I thought about the fucking 30 minutes or an hour of behind the scenes fawning about when Man of Steel came out and like how the flying shaky cam worked and all this shit and like this is what superpowered beings would look like when they fist fight in the air and like okay. That was a lot more clear to watch as a fight than anything I watched in Man of Steel, and it looks so good. I saw people online that complained about like lame robot talkie fight, and I was like, nope, that worked perfectly for me. Like literally at the moment in the fight where I was like, you're like fighting your own clone. Like at some point y'all are gonna end up buddies, and then like literally at that moment was like. Yeah, the whole Vision fight worked beautifully for me. Also, I keep looking at White Vision and thinking of, and I'm blanked on his name now, the robot from Bill and Ted 3.
Oh, yeah.
Dennis,
yeah. All right. So that's it for us this week. Nick, where can people find you?
Oh boy, nowadays you can find me I do some narration work over for audiobooks. You can find me under the name Nicholas Kane. That's my pseudonym for narration work. I've narrates like I think what was it, Zernal, zombie journal series, a reverse harem series where a woman has sex with 8 guys in order to give herself superpowers.
Sure.
It's pretty cool. And I do a bunch of erotic stuff under another pseudonym that I will not tell you because I don't want my mom to find it. But yeah, Nicholas Kane, if you look that up, you can find some of my work there. Otherwise, I'm kind of laying low right now as far as podcasting or other creative projects.
I love that the superhero reverse harem stuff is not crossing the line into the erotic stuff.
Oh, it's
tame.
It's the line. It's on the other side.
So it aired at like
closer.
11 p.m. on Skinamax, but the other stuff aired after midnight.
Thank you for subbing in for us this week, Nick.
Of course.
Thank you, Les, as always.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. Reminder, you can check us out at patreon.com/tvdudes. If you have that, you can jump over right now, listen to our bonus episode where we're going to talk about time loops. And until next week,
TV Dudes out.
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.